This is brought to you by Cricket 8. They are a new player in the game trying to educate fans on what is really happening in cricket. We have a partnership with them where we host live watch-alongs, do podcasts, and write articles. If you want to know what is really happening with our game, visit cricket8.com. If you make any content, Minvo Pro is the tool for you. Take your long format content and cut it and slice it for social media. This AI-inspired weapon will turn your one piece of work into so many clips. Try Minvo.pro now. Welcome to the Scoreboard and morning, everyone. Well, I didn't think I'd be sitting here saying that Mitchell Starc had potentially just won the IPL. Well, won the IPL is a bit much, but you know what I mean. The $1 trillion man finally came good. And he didn't just come good a little bit, did he? Because he took out the best batter in the tournament again early on. Another left arm bowler bowled. Travis Head is getting a bit of a complex at this stage. But what did we watch? Think about it this way. The betting markets thought that this game was even. And then Abhishek and Head went, and obviously Sunrisers were massively out of it. Then Heinrich Klaasen was in. I'm skipping over Shabazz here because I don't actually know what to do about that information. But Heinrich Klaasen came in, and suddenly they were almost even money. That's how comfortable at that point they were with the fact that they had lost early wickets. Heinrich Klaasen could do no wrong. Chakravarti was being hidden from Klaasen as well. And great captaincy to bring him on because you might as well. You're going to have to bowl him at one point. And then suddenly he was hit straight down the throat of deep mid-wicket. And that should have been enough to get the game back into the KKR's handle. But what about one of the weirdest two-ball stretches I think I've ever seen in a T20 game, where Samad hits the ball to backward point, and they both seem to call yes. Andre Russell does absolutely brilliant fielding, but the throw comes in, and Gabaz is so confused that he's about to throw at the non-striker's end before he realizes that no one is at his end, and he runs them out. And at this point, the Sunrisers think to themselves, well, the only thing we could do here is get an impact sub. So they bring the impact sub in, and he lasts one ball. They had three batters who faced four balls between them in this game. It was crazy. Some decent batting at the end by Pat Cummins got them to a score that was never going to be enough, but I suppose at least they got to bowl for a little while. Gabaz took over the Phil Salt role and was fine. If he does that again in the final, I think they'll see that as a plus. They got form out of both the Ayers. Sunil Narine got hit in the head and didn't get hurt and continued to bat and somehow made runs despite the fact yet again it looked like he shouldn't. And this was an absolutely one-sided game from the moment Klaasen went out, even before that weird run-out / bowled situation. Just brutal stuff from Kolkata. And they finally got all that money they spent on Mitchell Starc. They finally got what they were looking for out of it. What a moment for them. And Sunrisers now are going to go into that next game a little bit. Do we want to say confused? That's probably wrong. A little bit deflated, right? And a little bit beside themselves. But this is the Scoreboard. If you want to ask any questions, comments, and everywhere else, you can. But let us get into the actual Scoreboard part of the show. This is the team maps so far today. So you can see here the power play batting. We had them as a 31% better than average power play batting Sunrisers. And today, that is outside of the Klaasen wicket, almost exclusively where they lost the game. Right? If you're going to hit a team, hit them where it matters. Just let me charge my laptop so I don't go flat while we're in here. If you're going to hit someone, that is obviously the right place to go for their strength. And you can see here, middle overs batting has just been a little bit weaker. It's not been weak, of course, but not as good. The other thing that they're really good at is the power play bowling. I thought Bhuvi bowled it okay. I thought Cummins just got his length wrong. I didn't think it was terrible, but he got his length wrong to Narine. There was the fumble by Klaasen early on where they should have stopped the runs. You can't really have a go at their bowling, but just based on this, you would say that the things that they do absolutely best are power play batting and power play bowling. They didn't bowl particularly well in the power play, and they absolutely lost their head there when it comes to that. And if you come down here to power play bowling of Kolkata, they've been okay, actually, as a power play bowling team all year. But this was obviously completely different. And their main strength is usually the middle overs. Narayan went for runs today. And even Chakravarti's first over went for runs. The pitch didn't spin at all. Their normal strength never really came through at all. And you could even go, quite often it's been their power play batting. Like almost everything that we have seen that has won these two teams' games wasn't how this game went at all. I've got about 9 things ahead here. This doesn't really mean all that much, but this is the Travis Head period when he was bowling. But you can see they put pressure back on straight away, and that was clever. Don't let a game like this, at any stage, don't let a game like this even hint at coming back towards the opposition. We saw that Gabaz obviously went quite hard up front. Narayan couldn't score, but was trying to. Venki came in, and then Shreyas Iyer at the end really cashing in on Travis Head and batting very well. This is Shreyas' runs by strike rate and match this season. So you can see here that is one of his best efforts. The only player that they didn't get into form probably is Rinku Singh. And he just has, not that he's massively out of form, he just hasn't faced many balls this year. It would have been nice if they'd been able to get him in as well. But it was good to get Shreyas Iyer back out there, and he'll feel confident the way he batted. Natarajan bowled quite well, but Natarajan made 2 really big errors today. Twice, he had to just get a straight full ball in, and he didn't. Venki, first ball, he bowled a half volley on leg stump. You've just got a wicket. This is your chance to build up any kind of pressure, and he's given him a 4. And then after hitting Narayan in the head, it had to be a full and straight one, and he bowled another, this time a full toss down the leg side. Narayan was so all over the place that it didn't go for any runs. So even when their bowlers bowled well, it didn't go particularly great for them today. But there wasn't much to talk about in that innings, let's be honest. This is the Heinrich Klaasen Tripathi partnership. I thought Tripathi was excellent. His intent, he could have easily gone back, and there were times when he looked a little bit confused because losing wickets so quickly at the other end. He wasn't sure what to do next. But I just thought he was excellent all the way through. His thinking, his intent and trying to put pressure back on. And if Klaasen hits that six off Chakravarti, Sunrisers would have been favourite, right? And you might say that they still weren't more than a 50% chance to win the game. But that's how it could have gone. And to go from there to this with with the run out and the wicket and Klaasen going out and everything else, they did well to score at the end, and Cummins did, play some really good cricket, and their tail kept them afloat, I suppose. But clearly, this start and this bit was just too much, and they never really put any runs on. Tripathi made 35% of their runs. That's not even what he's in the side for. Klaasen was just about to explode, and that was horrible. Cummins, I thought, batted really, really well. He doesn't love spin, and that reverse slog that he played was delightful. Samad coming out and hitting a 6 off his first ball off Sun on Narayan. If there's anything I'm going to remember from this game, it might be that. And I just want to talk about Chakravarti here as well. Stark has ended up at 8.5. Aurora probably should have done better when the ball was swinging around. These two guys who've been holding up their bowling both went for runs today. And Chakravarti was more or less hidden from Klaasen, right? And then I thought they brought him on at a good time just before Klaasen had started going completely nuts. And I thought that was a huge chance of getting a wicket that over. And that was good captaincy to make that decision, because the easier decision is to hide Chakravarti until Klaasen is out. The fact that he got Klaasen out is a bonus, but that completely changed the game. And from then on in, he bowled beautifully on a wicket that didn't really help him all that much, right? This is Stark for each game so far. So we've got his economy by his wickets. So this is today. He had an economy of what was that, 8.5, went for 34 runs and took 3 wickets. You can see how many games this year he just hasn't managed to take a wicket at all. Although good on him for not taking -1 in any of these. You've got games where he's gone for 18 runs and over. You've got 14 runs and over here. So look at all these. These are all more than 10 runs and over, and this one's in the middle. So he's had 4 great games, or 4 good games at least, and you know, a couple of great games in there. What a time to come back and do that. And you have a look at him in this season so far. You know, he's not been a particularly good. This is not including today, remember. He's taken wickets slightly more than normal, but he's going at 2 runs and over extra. It's hard to see, looking at this, what his strength has been for Kolkata this year. And was it the last game they played when they only gave him 1 over because they didn't trust him anymore? What a turnaround that has been. And just on Chakravarti, he has had 1 bad season, 1 past season, and 3 fantastic seasons. Earlier this year, it did not look like this was where we were going. 1.37 runs better on true economy, which is fantastic. And he's taking, you know, well, almost 0.4 a wicket more than we expect him to take. It's been a fantastic effort from him. And, you know, if you think about where we were at the start of the season, and one of the reasons I didn't believe in KKR was that I needed one of those bowlers to stand up. Once Chakravarti stood up, I moved them certainly into my circle of trust teams, and then they went well beyond that. Getting both of those bowlers together at the same time is just absolutely huge. So that is massive for them. Absolutely brilliant. I can't do as much analysis on this game as I normally would because there wasn't a lot of game in this game, if we're being honest. But let's have a quick break here and we'll come back with your questions because you might have some, you might be better with questions than we are with analysis. It's probably more of a questions and narrative day than it is an analysis day here. But we'll have a quick break here on the scoreboard and come back in a moment. And of course, we'll be here for all the finals for this show.
Sometimes you just need to take the slips out and bowl defensively. And you also need to be careful with your computer's defense as well. If you need a VPN, go Nord. NordVPN.com/Kimber to get a 2-year contract with a discount, plus 4 extra months and gifts in some markets. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the show notes. So put in some dot balls and turn them into maidens via NordVPN.com/Kimber.
All right, welcome back. We don't have a lot of questions today, so if you do have one, feel free to drop one in. Probably won't be the longest show. I know it's a final, but there wasn't a lot going on, was there? We'll be doing a video on Mitchell Starc over on the main channel. I know we've mentioned him quite a bit, and I think there's a couple of questions on him as well. I don't know. Truth has put a super chat in, but hasn't. I can't find the chat unless I'm missing it. So I'm not. Oh wait. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I've got it now. Nuggets question. For some reason, it came in the wrong order. But I'll get to that. But let's start with Box. He says, I felt like comms are too harsh on spinners to bowl to Class and Abhishek. Those aren't half-trackers. They can just pull good length balls for 6. I think this is very fair. I did a test years ago, Box, when I first became an analyst for teams. Because I had to, that stage, I didn't have access to a lot of, Opta data or, back-end data or QuickViz data or anything. And so I had to mark the games myself. And you get a cut shot and you instantly put back of a length, outside off stump, too wide, right? And sometimes you don't, sometimes you notice them, but I did that quite regularly. So I did a game where I did it live and then I went back and I had the full video and I realized that some of those balls were like length balls on off stump that were being cut. It's just that the batter played a great shot. We react a lot to the ball based on what the shot that is played. And I think that is what we are seeing. I think we will start to understand now with Klaasen and Abhishek and Fraggle McGurk and who's the other guy? Patadar, that they're actually playing pretty good length balls and they're just playing the kinds of shots that they are. But that will take time. Darth Vader, not the Darth Vader. If you're in charge of the IPL, what would you do to offset the IPL fatigue that invariably seems to set in the last couple of weeks of the tournament? The biggest problem for the IPL now, and this is the opposite kind of what you mean, is that the fatigue that you're talking about quite often comes from the fact that there is a lot of games, in this case, I think the rain played a big part. But once you've seen that many games, you just want to get to the playoffs, right? But the issue with that is if there is a bad game, it feels 5 times worse because there isn't another game on that night. If you're talking about other sports where there are multiple games, you can just choose the game that is the game that you want to watch, right? And the problem with this one game at a time system And we don't have enough teams in the IPL to be able to do anything else. But the problem with this one game at a time system at the moment is that we end up with these kind of boring games when the season's already dragging on a little bit and everything else. If you have multiple games being played, there's always something that's going to happen, right? If you have 3 games being played in a night, that is what the future of this kind of cricket is, certainly in the IPL level. Oh my God. Where's Rahul's question, which has absolutely died here? There we go. Is Stark back to somewhere near his best? Today he got the ball to swing. Yes, he did get the ball to swing, and the pace was quite good. Look, I wouldn't say he's back to his best. He still went for runs, and he went for runs later on. But when the conditions are like that, he should be pretty good. Travis Head's been bowled twice now from that. I thought Stark looked really good today. Stark's best is about as good as any white ball bowler, not named Malinga or Bumrah, right? Or McGrath. Like his best is top 5, top 10 of all time. I don't think we saw a top 5, a top 10 of all time display from him today. And was it the last game, Rahul, that he bowled 1 over? So he's not back to his best, but he bowled really well today. And there's a huge difference between those two things. Remember, age robs you of consistency. It doesn't rob you of your ceiling. Abdullah says, who was the best pre-craze cricketer? Full of pilch. I love this question because it has absolutely nothing to do with this game, but people have already moved on emotionally, which I love about it. Full of pilch probably would be my selection. I'm not great on pre-1850s cricket. You've got to stop somewhere, don't you? I'm not really great on 1950s. Maybe it's just the 1850s and the 50s that get me. I'm not great on the 1750s either. Fuller Pilch was absolutely incredible, though. Yeah, he certainly is another player that deserves to be mentioned. Why is this not picking anything up today? True Serum says, what did you think about the epic collapse in Game 7 by the Nuggets? Look, they scored 6 points off their bench. So blaming the starters and everything else for what happened to the Nuggets is a bit ridiculous. I think they made a choice last year in Denver that they wanted to, instead of just having 1 or 2 good years in a row, they were trying to build a dynasty. I think they call it Project Dynasty or something. So they went for a bunch of young players like Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, Julian Strawther, Hunter Tyson, Jaden Pickett, all these different guys that were not going to be ready this year. And they probably hoped that if it was going to work for them this year, it was going to be Justin Holiday and Reggie Jackson, and they weren't quite at that level. So a lot of other teams have got slightly better, and the Nuggets have probably got marginally worse, right? You know, with Bruce Brown, they had 6 legit starters, and then you throw in Brown and Jeff Green, and they had really good depth, and they just didn't have it this year. And that's what we saw. We also saw a team that was set up to beat them. I thought it was a fantastic series and I really enjoyed it. I didn't come into this year thinking that this was the year that the Nuggets would definitely win. I think last year I thought all the way through that the Nuggets would win. I didn't feel it as much as this time. I just enjoyed the series. As a Denver Nuggets fan, I never thought I'd see a title. I've already seen one and we'll still start pretty close to being favorite again next year. So that's more than I could ever ask for. Let's have another quick break. I'll see if there's any other comments, but the fact that you guys are asking me about the Nuggets and Fuller Pilch does suggest that this is maybe not quite the game to be talking up at the moment, which is more than fine.
This is brought to you by Cricket 8. They are a new player in the game trying to educate fans on what is really happening in cricket. We have a partnership with them where we host live watch-alongs, do podcasts, and write articles. If you want to know what is really happening with our game, visit cricket8.com. If you make any content, Minvo Pro is the tool for you. Take your long format content and cut it and slice it for social media. This AI-inspired weapon will turn your one piece of work into so many clips. Try Minvo.pro now.
All right, just a couple of questions left, and then we will call it here. And now I've lost them. Oh, where is it? Abhishek says, Sunrisers middle order too weak to hold the batting together. Shabazz. Markram. Markram wasn't there. No, I don't think so at all. I think Klaasen was holding it together today. They had 3 guys face 4 balls. And their most informed batter today got run out. So And with a proper mix-up. I don't mean run out as in he was trying to steal an extra run. So I think if you factor all those things in, this is a little bit of a fluke from that point of view. I don't think they have the strongest middle order compared to, I'm trying to think, maybe compared to RCB, right? RCB maybe certainly don't have the power at the top. They can't win the game in the first 7 overs, RCB, the way that Sunrisers can. But, you've got proper test batters and really good quality hitters in that order. And then you've got Dinesh coming in late, right? So I think Sunrisers is more set up to be hitty. And at one stage, they had Tripathi and Klaasen hitting, even though they'd lost bunches of way too many wickets, and they were still getting back into the game. So it does tell you that the basic principle they have still holds some water. But too many things went wrong for them, right? Like Shabazz going out for a golden duck. Travis Head is fine because wickets early on sometimes happen, right? I'm okay with that one. Shabazz going out for a golden duck is like crazy. And then the run out / golden duck. Was it golden duck later or second ball duck, whatever it was? Or was it Shabazz that was second ball? That situation is just like, no, it was Head that was second ball, wasn't it? So the golden duck / run out, that's not like their batting order failing, right? You brought an impact sub in. He's trying to push the ball and he's bowled first ball. He just hasn't played up the right line, right? And your best batter has just been run out. Most informed batter that day has been run out the ball before. Sometimes you've just got to say it wasn't our day, and I think they can say that pretty much all the way through. Raul says, I think Shreyas could be a spin hitter like Patidar, but he usually doesn't show intent. I agree. I think he could definitely be more of that kind of player. I think he's a beautiful player spin. I'm not sure if him smashing Travis Head, bowling nude nuts is the proof I needed for that. But no, I do think he could definitely up his intent. I don't know if he could be a Patidar level player or Klaasen level player just because there's an element of unconventionalness about them. But Shreyas Iyer could be like a modern day Suresh Raina. True Serum says, what issues did you notice with RCB? Is a franchise while working with them? And what would you work with them again in the future if you received an offer? Look, if the offer is right, I would kind of work with any franchise. I would need the right amount of money, but more importantly, I need the right job. All right. If I'm going to take time off from doing all this sort of stuff, which I love as well, if I'm going to take time off from writing books and I'm going to get serious and do this job properly, I don't want to sit in the corner and say stuff and have myself be ignored. If I'm not a part of the decision-making process, if I'm not in charge of staff, those sorts of things, I'm not interested. I've been the analyst before. Unless I had a great relationship with the captain and coach or the owner and the coach or, at least 2 of the 3 major other decision makers, I'm not interested in getting involved in that. But yeah, I'm still talking to teams. I haven't been talking to anyone in the IPL this year. I think that's right. Yeah, that's more or less right. I mean, I've had conversations, but not really like, would you be interested or are you still looking at working with teams? I've had conversations with teams where they clearly value some of the stuff that I can bring. But yeah, not massively looking at getting into that. So I'm still very much open to that. There's a couple of new PSL teams, so there might be some positions there. There are some IPL teams that aren't going particularly well. They might want to change their structure and everything else, but I would only want to do it if it was right. The issues I noticed with RCB, I worked with them, and I say worked because I wasn't actually paid, but that was my choice because I couldn't leave Cricinfo at that time as like a draft consultant, but I was involved with them unofficially. Well, I had one probably solid week of actually kind of doing work for them and sending it to them, but I was involved with a lot of their conversations about decision making and everything for a longer period of time. They just didn't have anyone in charge. Everyone was worried about what Virat would think about things. No one actually made a decision. They didn't have a good chain of command. The people who were supposed to be decision makers weren't making decisions. There were too many people. There were too many different opinions. I would say there were like 7 or 8 different opinions that were being brought in at any stage, and I don't think that many of those opinions made it to Virat because they were terrified of telling Virat any of this stuff. So I didn't even think it was his fault. It was just a really poorly put together organization at that stage. Kartik says, we saw a lot of commentators saying that they wanted to see what would happen if Sunrisers were 10 for 2. Now that they have a proper batting collapse, are they more likely to bat within themselves? I don't think they should. I'd be shocked if they do. If I was them, I would be, Pat Cummins, Trevor Bayliss, whoever the decision makers are, I'd be saying, we got this far with this. It hasn't worked in one game, but it hadn't worked in other games as well. Right? They've had collapses before. Why don't we just keep going with this? It got us this far. And also, their bowling isn't good enough to make under par scores. They do need to actually bat a little bit like this. Look, I said a while back that the problem was that their batting was unsustainable because too many players were in form. That doesn't mean, though, that Head, Abhishek, Klaasen, some of these other guys, Shabazz, whoever it may be, can't still make really important innings that change things. And Tripathi's looked brilliant since he's come in as well, which has made me feel more comfortable with them. So I would have, if they won the next game, I think that would not surprise me at all. If they started playing within themselves, I think that actually would be probably an error. It's certainly not what I would be doing if that was the case. I think from that perspective, you certainly have a situation where I think what they need to do is just. Why won't any of this work today? I think what they really need to do is just back themselves, right? They are a flawed team, but they are a flawed team who can still score. I think if they had batted at their absolute best, I don't think Kolkata would have been able to hold them back, especially when that wicket didn't spin. Now, the issue is that they never got anywhere near their best today. And that's okay. That's cricket. You have to take that, right? It's a one-off game. You're sometimes going to lose them. They could have bowled first. It could have swung for them. Booby could have taken 3 wickets. We'd be having the exact opposite conversation here, right? Conditions play a part. Run-out played a part. The staggering amount of first and second ball ducks all played a part. They're probably, even if they lose the next game to Rajasthan or RCB, they are probably not going to play this bad again in this playoffs, right? But they might still lose the next game. They might play really well in the next game and lose. And the narrative will be that they choked or whatever else. But the truth is that they are a flawed side, and that is just where they are as a cricket team. But their top end is absolutely brilliant. And today we never got to see that. We got it like a micro flash of it when Tripathi and Klaasen started putting them back under pressure, and that was it. That was literally the highlight of their entire game. Anyway, that's me for today. As I said, there'll be a video on Mitchell Starc on the other channel that will be coming up very, very soon. I say that. I have no idea. I haven't even looked at it. I'm just going to wing it off the top of my head, thanks to Varun and Cheyenne's having a bit of a look at the script as well. But yes, thank you for everyone for your support. If you were at Cricket 8 today, we had a watch along. We will have a watch along for tomorrow's game and for Friday's game and for Sunday's game. We did podcasts as well after those games. We will do podcasts after all the games. I'll be here for the scoreboard. This is a big week. It's a big week of IPL cricket, and we could not have started it with a worse game.
If you need a VPN, go Nord. Use nordvpn.com/Kimber to get a 2-year contract with a discount, plus 4 extra months, plus gifts in some markets. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the show notes. Protect your computer like a blocker protects the stumps with NordVPN today.
Celebrate your cricket heroes with Bodyline t-shirts. Explore their player-inspired tees, featuring legends like Sachin Tendulkar, Brian Lara, and Viv Richards. They also have team-inspired designs and options for hardcore cricket nerds. Their collection is a must-have for the true cricket enthusiast.